Hi folks, welcome to the Society of Illustrators. It's really a pleasure and honor to have you here. We love this place, we love it too. We also love drawing, obviously, and this is the place to come to drawing. We do a drawing night on Tuesday and Thursdays every month. Tonight I'm going to take you through some exercises on drawing. I don't expect you to do the Sistine Chapel in 1 hour, but I'm going to throw some exercises at you to just help you think about drawing and to break down the figure into simple terms of shape and line. I believe anybody can draw. Anyone can learn to draw, just as anyone can throw a ball or learn how to dance. Some people have more rhythm, and some people have more power in their arm. But anyone can do it, and anyone can learn to draw. So we're going to start with a very simple formula. We're going to have our beautiful model, Lefty Lucy, who is wearing lingerie that I designed today and had made. No, it's actually it's from Tina Wilson, who generously brought all the lingerie. And she's going to take a pose. And I'm going to do a quick little demo for you. Because what I'm going to ask you to do, everybody had, at one time in their life, a coloring book. Right? And you knew how to draw in a coloring book. Also, let me say that don't feel like you're trapped in this seat if you want to get up and go to the bar and have a drink or have food. Please do. It's supposed to be fun time, and drawing's fun. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to draw left. Just give me, as we said, something really simple. The best way to start a drawing always, until you really know what you're doing, is at the top. So let gravity draw and pull your line to the bottom. So what I'm going to ask you to do is put a little dot at the top of your page and a little dot at the bottom. And then I'm just going to go from the top of her head, and I'm going to think in simple terms of curved lines and straight lines. So I'm not going to put in every hair. I'm going to squint, and if there's something I can't figure out, don't put it in. It's called selectivity. So I'm going to show you what I'll be doing. This is great, though. And so it's going to start to look something like this, you see? And what I also do is, if you really want to become a great draftsman, which is all about training your eye to see, you want to draw the left side and the right side, the left side and the right side, because it forces your eye to judge as you move down the figure, rather than doing a racetrack. If you do a racetrack, you're never going to meet up with the right place. So I'm going to do this quick little thing of lefty. I'm not going to put anything inside. You guys can make mistakes. It doesn't matter. Mistakes are your best friend. So I have something like this so far. See? So if I gave it to my nephew, who was just starting to draw the coloring book, he's 24. He would be able to fill it in. Okay, so it's just going to be basically an outside line, so that if you wanted to make a cookie, a lefty, we could make a cookie. So something like this, okay? Does everybody understand that? That's pretty easy, right? Pretty easy? All right, Lefty, give us another pose and let these guys give it a shot, okay? By the way, this will be really quick, 5 minutes. All right? No sweat. Beautiful. So start at the top of the head and just bring it down, left side, right side, and think in terms of, is that a curved line? Is that a straight line? And you could push that premise a little bit. Okay, so you should have something like this, all right? There will be gold stars given out at the end of this session. Tina has those. So it's a real empty shape, okay? And what you can do is start to think of this shape as a country, okay? And so we're drawing a country, a lingerie country. But, you know, countries can get boring if there's nothing happening inside. So I'm going to do it again. We're going to draw that country shape. But this time we're going to put in a few cities. Okay, so we're going to put in maybe some small shapes and some big shapes. But let's start with the outside shape. Okay, so can you give us another pose? You know what? I'm going to have you jump up here, Sydney, all right? And one of you chill. And one of you girls bouncing back. Sydney, this again will be like a 5-minute pose. Make it simple. If you could just keep your legs as one column, that would be great. Maybe hand up here. Awesome. That's it. She's perfect. Okay, 5 minutes. So start at the top of the head and work your way down. Please try to keep it empty. Don't put too much information inside. And then we'll start building some cities. Basically, think of it that we are creating the blueprint of the house. So you don't want to start hanging the curtains before the house is built. So if you have something like this, you have your country, Then I'm going to ask you to go in and put in a city. And let's say the city is the shape of her hair. So can you draw the shape of her hair as that first city inside this country? So you should have some, I made this a little larger so you guys in the back. So here's my country, right? This big thing. And here's my first city. This shape. You may not want to fill it in. So here's my country, and here's my city. Okay? Now, why don't we put in one of her eyes and her lips? Smaller shapes. Just one eye. Choose an eye and the lip shape. And if you could put that inside, that would be really great. So you should have something like this, okay? So we're starting to decorate our house. Okay? And then we just, let's think of it this way. Can you give me a pose? I'm going to ask you to first, before you draw the figure, I want you to look at left, and I'm going to ask you to analyze that figure in the terms of just 5 shapes. Now obviously there's 50 million shapes there. There's light and shadow and contrast and skin and reflected light and negative space. But if I look, okay, so this is my first shape. So I have her hair, I have her face, and I have part of her neck. And that's one shape. So that leaves me, I got 4 more shapes to go. So I have some spending money. I didn't use it all up in one little area. So I'm going to go to this side. And again, this is just an exercise to get you thinking. So here's my second shape. So I have 3 to go. Okay? Yeah, I'm sorry. I'm so sorry. So I have 2 shapes. I got 3 to go. 3 more. If you take something and break it up into shapes as far as texture or fabric or material and recreate it each time differently, it opens up, the field of creativity and the way you see. So think if you went to Central Park and I said, can you give me a drawing of that landscape? Are you going to draw the tree and every leaf on that tree? You'd be correct. But if you can go and say, I'm going to map out an area in Central Park or a landscape and break it up into simple terms of 5 shapes, you'll be able to put it out. And it's a great premise to start drawing in. So I'm going to do this because right now I don't think I'm going to do this. So there's my 5 shapes. I put the negative shape in between her legs to help draw the legs. Okay? Do you guys want to try that? Sure. 5 shapes? Okay? So give us another one, Lefty. And just what you're doing is you want to keep this. Awesome. So 5 shapes, folks. If you can. It's really good to try to do a balancing act, like left and right, because it helps you start to judge what's high and what's low. Awesome. So I'm thinking in terms like this a little bit. 5 shapes. Just 5 shapes. Because remember, you can always add to it, you can always go in and add to it. So if you think of terms of drawing as far as composition, because that's really what it is about. Whether you're drawing a figure or a still life, it's about composition. So if you start to look at a figure and draw it in terms of composition and put in 5 interesting shapes and play one against the other, it pulls the viewer in. It's the same way that when you do lingerie, I mean, I'm not a designer, but maybe this whole thing could be lace. But what's so beautiful about this ensemble is like it's just this very little sliver of lace up here, and then it's black. So there's a contrast, you know, it forces your eye to look at the design. So it's the same thing when you draw the figure. Okay, so you can relax a little bit. See how much fun we have, these artists? I met Pat tonight for the first time. He's in finance, he's never drawn before. All right, I have more. What I want you to do is, obviously drawing would be really boring if it was just shapes. It's also about line. And I love line. I think line is emotional and it brings to life. Line is like the veins that pulse through the body. You know, it breathes life into the drawing. And there are some different lines. There's a flare line, which we use in fashion, which is very quick, you know, move around line, flare. There's a line that I call a studious line, that if I was drawing somebody and, you know, I fall in love with this area, put every eyelash in, you know, the pupil. Studious line's a little boring, you know, he stays in one spot and captures everything, and it's photorealistic, and kind of like a studious line. But there's a great line, the cousin of these lines, and it's called continuous line. Some of you are familiar with that. And a continuous line is exactly what it means. It's a line that just doesn't stop. You know, you put your pen down on the paper and you just move it and you not pick it up for fear that, you know, you're going to get struck by lightning. I went to Caterisano, so the nuns were always telling me something or other was going to strike me by lightning. I didn't pay attention, so I used it. But a continuous line just moves, you know, it's like, I don't know if there are any musicians, but think about a musician who's like playing the violin and, you know, it soars and it flows and it moves and it breathes life and, you know, it doesn't stop. You know, there's no right and there's no wrong. The only thing I would suggest is that you make sure that you start at the top and let gravity pull down the line. So this is a continuous line. It's just, it's not studious, it's not flare, it's just a line that doesn't stop. I'm going to ask you to take your flower, and I'm going to ask you to start at the top, fall in love with the flower, and have it be a continuous line as it moves from the top of the flower down to the bottom of the stem. Okay? And really take your time. You know, break boundaries, there are no rules, there's no right, there's no wrong. Just have it be continuous. All I'm going to ask you to do is I'm going to ask you to do that silly little dot at the top of your page and dot at the bottom. And I'm going to ask you to draw Sydney in a continuous line. Okay? So you can pick up part of your dress and just like, you know, maybe feel like your legs put like bigger. Yeah, that's it. And maybe look, that's great, okay? So one continuous line from the top of her head, just as you drew the flower. Try that same thing. Only this time you're drawing the figure. This would be like 5 minutes. Something like this a little bit. It's a little bit more, it's looser. It's a more continuous line. It's not so rigid. I mean, thinking about tonight lingerie, and lingerie is so fluid and soft. And someone was telling me earlier, and I never really thought about this, but I think it's really brilliant. It's the only clothing that touches the skin. It's so close to the skin. So try to keep it a little fluid. That's actually nice. That's really nice. So we worked a little bit about shape, right? And you guys have some understanding of shape. And so I'm going to ask you to draw lefty, but I'm going to ask you that painting behind her is part of her. That's part of the shape that she's part of or contained in. I would ask you to think of this in terms of shape, and I'd ask you to think of her garment in terms of continuous line. All right? Now let's see what happens. So, obviously I'm a fashion illustrator, but when I do have my models, I always think in my model, I always create a story. I really do. I think it's really important when you draw, no matter what it is, even if it's like an ant, that you create a story. So every time I draw a fashion figure, I just did something for a magazine, I make a story up, and it's the woman is going somewhere, or she's leaving, or she's got a better boyfriend, or she just got some money, or... So make a story up. That's right. Just make a story up. Okay, so again, let's try this. You guys are doing really well. A little bit of shape. I would think that the skin is the shape area, and maybe you don't have to draw it. And then the flowing, fuchsia ensemble is your continuous line. Just pretend a fan is flowing as it's moving. Lovely. There's an artist, he's one of my favorite artists, his name is Illustrator. And if you ever look at his line drawings, the ones that are, devoid of any tone or value or painting, it's just line, the figure still has depth. And to me, he creates that by giving it a line color. Some places the line is thicker than others, and some places it disappears, and some places it's like right in your face. So I'm going to give you one last exercise on line color. So you all need to draw a little square in your face like this. All right? So into this square, we're going to put 3 figures or 3 drawings. Okay? So the first figure, now this is going to involve a little bit of competition. So the first figure, let's say if I was doing, okay, so say I was going to put a well, all right. It's going to be really stupid. Let's just say. So there's my flower pot. Okay? Now you all have these pens that have like a flare point. That's what I want you to use. So when something is close to you, it's called the foreground, like in composition, like what's close to you is the foreground, and it's really visible and clear. And then there's what? Well, that's the background, the middle ground, and the background. So the first thing I'm going to ask you to do is, that's actually lovely. You can do that. That's really lovely, because they're just going to put it. So you're going to have to crop, because I'm going to ask you to put Sydney into the foreground, just from her head to her arms. So in that little square, remember you need to leave some room because you will be putting something in the middle ground and background. Well, when you do that, and I'll just do a quick look at it. When I do that, and now she's probably going to have to be cropped a little bit. But what I will ask you to do is to make sure, and again guys, please just keep this a shape. Don't put anything, don't feel like you have to put anything inside. It's just an exercise. So even if you get this, okay? Even if you just get a side of her head, that shape, that's going to be in your board, okay? So the first thing we're going to, see I left some room, so I have some clicker. So let's do that as Sydney. Just make sure that it's your thick foreground line. It has to be really thick and dark, right? So it should be really thick. No, don't give me any line quality. I want one thick line for my, again, my nephew who can't see too far. So make it thick and black. Or if you don't have it black, and just make it really thick. Again, just keep it a shape. It's just about learning how to use a line, how to really explore a line quality. And I find this is a really good exercise. Okay, does everybody have that? Is your line really thick? Don't put anything in the space. It's okay. So your line should be really thick and dark. Really thick and dark. That's great. Tina, that's excellent. Excellent. Really thick and dark. Say, once you have a glass of wine, you loosen up. That's good. Okay. So, just, you know what, give me another pose, like just like maybe this, something like that, okay? So, now you need to put an image in the middle. And again, we're not filling it in, we're not putting any value or any tone. So that line is not going to be as thick or as dark. It's going to be a little thinner and grayer. And again, it's the shape. So just do me that favor, again. Try to keep it in perspective if you can, but just draw the shape of her in a thinner, grayer line. Think about composition, and you're going to get one more to go into that space, so make sure you leave some. That's great. So guys, you all understand now that what's close to you is a thick line. What's close to you is a thick line, and what's far from you is a thin line. Everybody's got that premise. So I need you to give me something like this. Something close to them, and something far from them. So when you draw lefty, and again, any which way you want, would you just be conscious that what's close to you on the figure is your dark line, and what's not close to you is your thin pale line. And that's my column. It's summed up, all right? And this will be 5, and then we'll have the 2 rows put together. You don't have to draw the whole figure. If you want to draw the head, if you want to draw the arm, if you want to draw the hand, the pearls, just try to draw an area there's something close to you and something far away, and use that line follow exercise. I hope you really had a good time drawing. As I said, I love drawing.